After the World Nomad Games, the global audience gained a greater understanding of Kazakhstan's culture, predominantly from a sporting perspective. However, our rich heritage is rapidly gaining recognition in the world of literature as well. Danish author Leonora Van Deurs has penned a novel focused on the Botai culture, the region in northern Kazakhstan where horse domestication first occurred. In her exclusive interview to our channel, Leonora not only discussed her plans to publish the book in Kazakhstan, but also hinted at something that could profoundly shift the perception of nomadic culture among youth worldwide. What's the big revelation? Stay tuned for today's episode. Leonora, hi. Thank you so much for joining us on our program today.
Thank you for taking me.
And welcome to Kazakhstan.
Thank you very much.
Given your deep exploration of the Botai culture and its significance, how do you see your work contributing to the global understanding of and appreciation of Kazakhstan's nomadic heritage?
I think this is a really important subject because this was partially the motivation for me to start writing the book in the first place, because I heard about this from the scientific environment and from the documentary KAZAKHSTAN'S Story of the Horse, which was, I think, the first documentary that made this piece of history accessible for, well, the world and also internationally. But I think it's a bit of a problem that it has stayed within the scientific community. And when I heard about this, the first thing I thought was, we need to bring this to the world. We need to bring people's attention to this amazing piece of human history that actually transformed the world. So I hope that through fiction, which I've written a fictional novel, I hope that I can present this literature in a more accessible way, especially for young people, to understand this piece of history. And I think fiction and documentary and of course films in general will greatly contribute towards that.
What strategies do you believe would be most effective in popularizing the culture of the nomads abroad?
Popularizing. I think the first step is to bring people's attention to it. And I mean, the strategy that I have followed, which has proved successful, I think, so far, has been the fact that I picked a publishing house which have a reputation for going into the secondary schools a lot and using the books as an educational tool, where you read some piece of fiction, or it can even be non-fiction, and then afterwards you have to, like, perhaps write an essay or answer some questions about it. And this is what my book has been used for. And I think this way you really get hands-on, and you really get to explore this subject, and you really get to find out what parts of perhaps this piece of history do you find the most interesting, and what parts are you going to research further.
But young authors like yourself, how do you inspire them? Is Kazakhstan open enough for young experts like yourself wishing to discover more about its history and its culture? How do we make it more accessible? How do we open ourselves up for authors to write books on our culture?
I think one of the best things that I've experienced now, I have researched a lot for my novel, and I've researched a lot of, well, museum sites and everything on the web that was available about the Botai people, the Yamnaya people, the steppe people of the Bronze Age. And one of the things that really was helpful was the documentary, and I mentioned it before, KAZAKHSTAN'S Story of the Horse, because it has like visual image of a reconstruction, what's it going to look like back in the Bronze Age. And I think similarly we need to make some reconstructions of the past, perhaps even some storytelling. This is something I believe will truly change things, and of course I can say from my perspective I have delved a lot into the scientific part of it, and here I think there are some scientists that have done a really good job at telling the story to the public, especially in Denmark, because we have the scientist Eske Willerslev, who is a bit of a celebrity, and he has spoken about this people, and this has helped greatly in at least the Scandinavian understanding of the steppe culture, specifically Botai.
Well, with your deep engagement in the Botai culture and ongoing projects, do you have any plans to collaborate with our ministries of tourism and culture? How do you envision contributing to initiatives that promote Kazakhstan's cultural heritage on a broader scale?
I think our first step is, today we have already been speaking to many people of influence here in Kazakhstan about the translation and publication of my book. I think this is the most efficient tool from my side, is my ability to write novels that are well successful and well received amongst the young audience. I think this is really important, because when the youth are informed, of course, I mean, I hope they will tell this story then to their friends, but also hopefully in the future, Kazakhstan will be more culturally on the map, so to speak. Yeah.
Given that your research and the deep understanding of the culture is closely tied to the origins of horse domestication, what advice would you offer to our ministry or ministers regarding the preservation of Kazakhstan's horse culture, and what steps should be taken to address challenges in maybe horse breeding, should there be any, and to ensure the sustainability of this vital part of our heritage?
Right. I must say it's not a subject I know that much about, but I'll give it a go. I think initiatives like really filming it and filming the history, making the history accessible through, for example, films, is a great step. I think what you have in Kazakhstan is really worth preserving, and it seems you've so far done a pretty good job at preserving it.
Well, with your second book on Botai culture in the making, what are your strategies for maintaining the momentum on expanding the reach of your work?
So the first thing that I will be including is some more of the steppe people at the time, so hopefully this will add some dimension to my book. And then furthermore, I will be, of course, continuing my strategy of presenting it to a young audience and presenting it in schools. And then I think the translations will make a difference. Of course, the plot is very important, and I think my new book will be slightly different in terms of the characters that are involved. There will be some that are a little bit older, which creates room for some more dimensions in the character development, which might appeal to a slightly older audience, along with keeping its charm from the first novel.
Is your book something that will be included in the literature school curriculums in Kazakhstan?
I could see that. I mean, this would be amazing if this were the case. I think my book is historically correct enough, at least I hope, for this to be possible. I really have worked with researchers to depict it as accurately as possible, and I think this might be part of the reason why we're here today in Kazakhstan, and that the people here have appreciated my work so much.
But are there any collabs? Are you planning on collaborating with any of our ministries?
Yes.
Are there any projects in the making?
I visited the Ministry of Foreign Affairs today, and we spoke a lot about the translation and publication here in Kazakhstan. So I think the last step in this process is finding a publishing house that can partner with my publishing house back in Denmark, and then we can hopefully publish it in Kazakhstan as well.
And how do you feel about that, having your book published in the motherland of the culture?
This is, I think, to me, this is very flattering that I've written a novel that has also been appreciated by the people whose cultural history it is. And I think, in a way, it was a little bit of a relief that it was so well received among the Kazakh people, because, I mean, of course, it's always a fear that you write about a culture that isn't your own, that you depict it correctly, and that you appreciate the culture instead of presenting it in a wrong way.
Well, are there talks of a movie perhaps being created based on your books?
We have heard rumors of an animation, like an animated movie, that might come into reality, and this would of course be amazing for me to see. I think it's any author's dream to see their book portrayed in a film.
Well, interesting. Should we expect something on the scale of Avatar?
This is really, it feels out of my hands now, but I mean, that would of course be amazing. I think I would be very flattered if there were an animation film. I think Avatar is it's a very big thing.
It's a very ambitious goal, but...
But yeah, I mean, it was also ambitious when I, as a 17-year-old, applied for publishing houses, and look at where we are now, today. So my story is unusual. It might lead to even more unusual and amazing opportunities.
What challenges or opportunities do you foresee, and how do you think this would impact the commercial success of your films based on your work?
I think one challenge is definitely the Danish-Kazakh translation, because it's very difficult to find someone who can translate directly, so we will have to go through the route of Russian or English first. This is one challenge that we are looking at right now, the first hurdle perhaps. Then I think I don't know enough as an author about how to brand in Kazakhstan, which is why I'm hoping that we'll find a publishing house that, well, know a lot about publishing and the commercial aspect of publishing in Kazakhstan.
How do you envision a film adaptation of your books contributing to the preservation and promotion of Kazakhstan's cultural heritage?
So the really nice thing about animated films is that you can translate it into many languages. So this could be something that could be in Denmark. We have a long cultural, I think, history of animation in Denmark, and especially children's animation, so I could definitely see a collaboration here that could be appreciated in Denmark as well as in Kazakhstan. And I think as soon as you have an animated film, it's of course not that big of a step to translate it to other languages, and hopefully people will then see. I think one aspect of my book that really can help in promoting the Kazakh nature and cultural history is the fact that they're traveling a lot. They have a journey through Kazakhstan where they're seeing many of the natural sites, and of course the Botai village, and there's a lot of very beautiful images that could be part of the film that could really display Kazakhstan.
This is not to offend you, but have you ever at any one point resorted to using to AI assistance, for example?
I think I started writing on my book in 2018.
Oh.
This was when I started researching, 2018-19. So at this time there wasn't even any AI available.
No ChatGPT.
No ChatGPT around. No, I do it the old-fashioned way. Yeah, I think AI might hold some potential for perhaps. I mean, autocorrect is there, spelling. I think for me as an author, ChatGPT is not really a valid it's not really an opponent that I should fear in my professional
at least
way.
not yet.
At least not yet. We'll see what happens.
In an increasingly globalized economy, how important is cross-cultural understanding, and how can stories like yours in your book help cultures navigate their differences?
I think we see a lot of prejudice, and we see a lot of prejudice that might long ago have some truth to it. But the truth about Kazakhstan is really that all of the prejudice, all of the perhaps negative ideas that I had about Kazakhstan have not been true. So I think when you start to understand one another's culture, perhaps through reading about the history, then you can overcome these stereotypical ideas that might not be true anymore, and then you can look at each other less biased and really just open your mind to international friendships and collaborations.
That's great. Well, Leonor, thank you so much for joining us on our program today. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.